Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Strohmeyer with Saddle Up Shooting, your host. I hope I have a good one for you today because I'm going to be talking about the growth and proliferation of the 223, 224 calibers centerfires that has happened in the last 50 years and how it's sort of taken over a little bit of the sport from the old legacy type of cartridges to the newer type of cartridges that have high BC heavy for caliber bullets. So come back in a moment, folks. Let's go ahead and get to talking about 4 of my favorites. See you soon. Now you can't talk about the modern 224 centerfire type of rifles unless you bring up the 223 Remington. Brought up in the Vietnam War as a battle rifle, still used today as far as I'm concerned, and is an excellent varmint cartridge. Now I'm specifically going to be talking about cartridges that can be used in the AR-15 type of platform. There's also bolt action iterations of it, but I'll finish up with one that's not an AR-15, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because obviously it's the superstar of the varmint cartridges. Okay, so the first up, like I said, is the 223 Remington. Now this happens to be the one I shoot the most, and the reason why is because it's inexpensive to shoot. It only goes up to a maximum of 27 grains worth of powder. So with a 50 to 55 grain bullet all the way up to 77 grain, it's very inexpensive to shoot. And you can get some outstanding speed depending on your configuration. Now another nice feature of the 223 caliber is the fact that you can go up to 58,000, almost 60,000 of PSI. And I'll get into the importance of that in a moment, okay, when I start to talk about other calibers. All right, so this configuration is a 24-inch, as you can see. The reason I go with 24-inch and not 16, not the 18, etc., is because I want to get the maximum velocity that I can get. And barrel length does help that. If you're a hand loader, obviously, you can tailor make your loads to the individual rifle. I think I've probably done 20 videos on a 223, so that it's a very, very good varmint cartridge, up to coyote size game, out to 400 yards if you're a good shot. But if you're under 300 yards, you're always going to be right there in the money. All right, now this one came out in 2015. This is the 224 Valkyrie. Now, it's also able to shoot a range between, 53 up to 90 grain. So, unlike the 223, this was manufactured to be able to shoot long range. Federal, who developed the cartridge, said it can go out to 12 to 1,300 yards. Now, I don't shoot that far. I'm not a long-range shooter, but I am a varmint shooter. Now, this rifle is also in an AR-15 type of configuration. Also has a 24-inch barrel. I can load this up to 30 grains worth of powder compared to the 223 of 27 grains of powder. So obviously the velocity is 150 to 200 feet per second faster than the 223. I happen to like this rifle very much and this cartridge, but it is kind of finicky because when Federal rolled this out, they were marketing it for the 90 grain bullet and they failed. And so a lot of people gave up on the cartridge. And I don't think you should give up on it. This rifle is very, very accurate. The cartridge is very, very accurate, but you need to find the bullet range that works for the game that you're going to be hunting and the distance that you're going to be hunting, and I think you'll find outstanding accuracy. One other big plus about the 224 Valkyrie is it does not distinguish between gas gun data and bolt gun data. It has a 58,000 PSI range. So whatever you buy off the shelf is going to be loaded a little bit heavier than, say, the new 6 ARC or one of the, or 22 ARC or one of those type of configurations. Very, very, very accurate, very, very good on varmint size game, from rock chucks all the way up to coyotes. And this will extend your range out to 500 yards. Keep that in mind. All right, so let's go to the next one. The 22 ARC, which came from the 6.5 Grendel to the Hornady's iteration of the 6mm ARC, and they necked it down to the new 22 ARC. This is one that Hornady didn't lie about. They developed this cartridge for the longer, sleeker, higher BC 22 caliber bullets that can shoot out to 1,300 yards. This cartridge can hold up to 33 grains of powder. Careful now, remember the gas gun configuration and the bolt gun configuration. If you buy a gas gun in the 22 ARC, its pressure limits, because of the bolt, the thinner bolt head of the Grendel and 6mm ARC, 22 ARC bolt is very, very thin. So its maximum pressure range is 52,000 PSI. If you get it in a bolt action like I did here, you can take that clear up to 60 to 62,000 and put that extra powder in there up to that 33.5 grains of powder. This shoots very, very well, and I think you've probably seen it in my most recent videos. And I found that, believe it or not, that the 53 and the 55 grains shoot very, very well out of this, and shoot almost 3,600 feet per second, which rivals the next rifle, which is not in an AR-15 type of configuration. But the 22 ARC is very, very good, especially if you're a hand loader, okay? So let's go ahead and go to the fourth rifle. Here's the fourth rifle, and it is my newest rifle. Now, this is not in an AR-15 configuration. This is the 22-250 Remington, by far the king of all varmint cartridges. Yes, I know the 220 Swift. I know a lot of people are going to bring up cartridges like that might be faster or whatever. But this has withstood the test of time since 1965, and it has never been rivaled. The only problem is it's not an AR-15 configuration. You need to get an AR-10 configuration, even though the cartridge is not the full mid-size like a 308 type of cartridge situation. A little bit shorter, but you still need to get that short action type of deal to operate this. Now, this cartridge goes up to 41 grains of powder. Now compare that to the 27 grains of powder. We just talked about that. So you can expect to get tremendous velocity out of the 22-250 Remington cartridge. Now, I happen to shoot, and I've tried up to what I can do because of the limits of the twist in the barrel. The others that I just showed you all have a 1-in-7 to 1-in-8 barrel twist, which allows them to shoot the heavier for caliber bullets. But my 22-250s, both of them, have a 1-in-14 twist, which means that you have to be very, very careful about the weight of the bullet that you shoot in the cartridge. All right, so I can go up to a 60 grain bullet marginally, but the 55 and the 53 and 50 grain is perfect. On an animal that's this big, 400 yards is hardly visible to the human eye. So even with a high-powered scope, you've got very little room for error as far as accuracy is concerned. So 400 yards is my maximum, because I have anything after that, yeah, you know, I drop below 50% on my hit ratio. So I try to stay within that range. The 22-250 gives me that capability over the other type of rifles. Now, you also can get the 22-250 in a bolt action cartridge. Both of those in the AR-10 and in the bolt action are rated the same, up to 62,000 PSI. So that doesn't matter. But the powder ratio will cost you a little bit more to hand load. But the word inherently accurate, it's all there. All right, so now let's talk about the only downsides to these rifles that I've gone over here. Just let's start with the 223. The downside of the 223 is if it's in an AR-15 is whether or not it's repeatable because of the mechanism of the AR-15. Sometimes you can get malfunctions. It takes practice to be able to learn how that AR-15 works so that you can fix a malfunction in a hurry and not get off target of your potential game. Number two is also it's a do-all. It's designed to cover everything. It's designed to cover very light bullets up to the heavyweight bullet, depending on your twist, barrel twist again. In a bolt action, you're going to find that the 223 has got a twist rate of 1 in 12, and that's generally for the really light bullets. And in an AR-15, you're going to go clear down or the fast twist to a 1 in 7, which allows you to shoot those 77 to 80 grain bullets. The problem with that is remember the cartridge limitations, the case limitation of itself. The longer, higher BC type of bullet, that bullet has to be seated deeper into the powder column of the case. When that happens, you give up velocity. But again, if you're a long distance shooter, long range shooter, and you use your scope dials and you use your phone to figure out what the drifts and drops are or whatever, and you're at a bench and you know, you're just shooting for accuracy or whatever, that's not a big deal. But for a hunter, needs to get on target fast, needs to acquire fast, needs to do some mental math on distance and bullet drop. Within that 300 yards, it's not a big deal with the lighter grain bullets. With the heavier grain bullets, they drop off. Okay, now let's go to the next one, which is the 224 Valkyrie. Again, the downside of the Valkyrie is Federal blew it. When they first introduced this rifle, they screwed up the ammunition. They were making the ammunition for the rifle, and they messed up. They fixed it, but by that time, there was so much negative talk about the Valkyrie, it kind of died. But I'm going to tell you right now, go get one. You'll love it. It rivals the 22 ARC. It rivals the 22 ARC and can use a higher PSI pressure ratio than the ARC can in a gas gun. Bolt gun, I don't know if too many companies even make those, but in an AR-15 type platform, you'll really enjoy it. That's the only downside is commercial ammunition that is available because the popularity of the cartridges died off. Okay, that brings us to the 22 ARC. The Valkyrie and the ARC are too close to compare, except for the ARC does hold more powder. So you are going to get that 150 to 200 feet per second faster. But in an AR-15, you kind of lose that because of the pressure tolerance of the AR-15 with the 22 ARC, which lowers that pressure down to 52 grains. Remember, the Valkyrie has 58 PSI pressure. I said grains, you know I meant PSI. 52 versus 58. But cartridge, powder column, 29 grains versus 33 and a half. So if you have a bolt action in the 22 ARC, you're going to get almost 300 feet per second faster with a similar weight bullet. Accuracy still comes down to you, doesn't it? It still comes down to whether your rifle likes that type of ammo. The 22-250 Remington. No downside, no negatives, none. If you talk to the average varminter out there, they really like it. For me, the only downside is heat. It heats up the barrel very, very fast. So rapid shooting situations where you might be on a prairie dog town and you might be doing 100 rounds or whatever, you're going to trash your barrel. And you're going to lose accuracy, because the heat of the barrel with that small bullet going that fast with that powder column is going to heat up that barrel and to where you won't be able to even touch it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be getting out shooting soon, but not today. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Check your subscriptions, please. But as always, may God bless you all. See you again next time. Goodbye.